welcome back to the least intense podcast with the most intense intro. Verbal Money talking about the UFC London card and, of course, Cage Warriors the night before. Another big weekend of UK MMA. There's a lot to talk about with the fights. I feel like we should also recap the live stream that you guys did because it's a lot of fun. We should plug.
We can do that.
Oh, we're definitely going to do that. We should plug right from the start that we're going to do a live stream this Saturday for the Cage Warriors Rome card. We will be talking during the main card with some guests and talking a little bit about the UFC card that is following that night. It's going to be a tough ask for it to be better than the UFC London one, but we will try our best to deliver that. So where do you guys want to start with Cage Warriors? Because I had the joy of going there and taking this event in and then leaving London before the UFC, which seems crazy that, you know, the second event in London of the year and I decided to go home instead of go to it. But hey, I
mean, you saw the better show of the two.
I mean, I think so. I got to do what everyone goes to the O2 Arena for, which is to have a conversation with the lovely Jamie of VMTV. So for me, that was it. That was my trip in London completed. I saw some good fights. I got to chat to Jamie, and then I'm off home.
Yeah, Jamie's a good guy, isn't he?
There's no. I'm feeling so left out here. I'm so left out. I've never met the fella. This is I can't believe there wasn't fucking photos plastered all over the socials. You know, this is the moment we've all been waiting for.
I did meet him as he was in a queue to get into the public weigh-ins, and I wasn't going to them. And it started in like 5 minutes, so it wasn't really enough time to be like, let's grab a photo quick. Also, in the media queue, it would have been a bit strange.
Did Jamie spot you quicker than he spotted me, though?
No, I went to go find him. I spotted him from a distance and literally got up to him and tapped him on the shoulder. So no, he did not spot me one bit.
No, so when I met Jamie, it was the press conference for 286. This is not what we're here to talk about, but it was a press conference for 286 at the magazine in London, which is just around the corner from the O2, basically. Standing crowd. It was like a concert, like style crowd standing. I was probably 7 or 8 deep behind the media section in like the general section, and Jamie was right at the back of the media section, right in front of me. Yeah. So then after the shows, when people start to leave, it's easy, plenty of time. Yeah, we should like finish this off and do something at All In, Kyle.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
and then Jake's gonna be very left out.
yeah.
No, that's fine. I'm gonna go up to Dublin. If anyone wants to come, fuck you. I'm not saying hello to you. That's fine.
You're more likely to get quiet. You're more likely to get Gawley.
Yeah, me and Coley, fucking best buds for life. You know, but then again, you know, I was gonna say I have I have the lads at Severe to hang out with at the media table, but fucking Jamie is taking them as well. You know, I met Andy Stevenson. He's queer nice, ain't he? I was like, fuck you, Jamie. Right? Andy's mine. Right? He's all I've got in this world. So, fuck you lot. How about that?
Yeah, Jamie hanging around with Andy Stevenson and the fella from the In-Betweeners.
You know what? Like, Blake Harrison is good at what he does, and he deserves to get recognition for that. But never will I be able to look at him at an event and go, oh my God, it's Blake Harrison, you know, the MMA journalist. I'm always going to look at him and go, oh, look, it's Neil from the In-Betweeners.
Yeah. I met Blake very briefly at the March card last year at the weigh-ins, I think. I was the Volkov Aspinall card. Great guy. Was taking pictures with everyone. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. You go to a UFC event, you don't expect to run into one of the In-Betweeners. You do want to capture the moment.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm not ashamed to say at that point I got a picture with him. It's fine.
Yeah.
I
might never see him again.
Like, oh well.
Steve's going to end up meeting all of the In-Betweeners before Jake meets anyone from VMTV.
It's more than likely. But look, that's fine. I have my In-Betweener season 2 DVD to watch. You can go meet the fella. I think it's about even.
I met Stefan Struve at Cage Warriors. He's a good dude. He was there doing. He's there doing his media thing. When we're talking about people making that transition into the media, he's a great dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it not a little bit off-putting though for the people he's interviewing having to? He's actually 7 foot tall.
I mean, to be fair,
that's gotta hurt your neck a little bit.
And he was standing next to Agi Sadari, who's a lightweight. Yeah.
You know what? Good for him. He's gotten into a better line of work where he doesn't have to get the shit kicked out of him so often. That's why we're all here.
Yeah, good for him. Great dude. And that's not what we're here to talk about.
It's very true. I don't know how we got to talking about Stefan Struve, but hey, we got there. But hey, you saw him at Cage Warriors event, so
it was Cage Warriors, man.
We're somewhat on topic. Where do you guys want to start with this event? Because as we discussed on the preview, a lot of big names for Cage Warriors on this card, and off the top of my head, they all delivered. I'm just thinking now, was there one that didn't? But I think they all did.
I don't know if Jake wanted to lead on something, since I know you didn't see the whole card.
Yeah, if we're going to work from the bottom, the first one that I remember vividly is Takamandu's fight, and I was excited to hear that he was stepping in on short notice because I don't feel like he got. I was going to say I don't feel like he got a fair swing at it the first time. He did, but he just came up short. I don't think he showcased all of his potential, and I'm glad to see him get a win there. The lads at Team KF are doing fantastic at the minute, and I'm glad to see him get a win because he had just a bizarre fight in Dublin. But I'm glad to see that he won here.
This was a bit of a bizarre fight too, but it wasn't really his fault this time. But no, I thought he looked really good. I thought he looked great.
Maybe he's just attracting chaos.
Yeah,
maybe that's his thing. So look, there's no harm in it until there is harm in it. But fuck it, it's MMA.
Now, of the stuff before that you didn't see, Liam Gittins getting a first round finish was impressive. And I like the look of George Tanassa as well. I think that was his Cage Warriors debut coming from the academy. He looked good against Wesley Mercado, who he's a Brazilian, he's a jiu-jitsu specialist. He's coming up. He's had a couple of losses now, but in Cage Warriors, but it was a good test for where George Tanassa is, and he looked really good. Yeah. And Wesley Meyer as well, early in the card.
Yeah.
Always love seeing that man fight.
Yeah, big much needed win for him as well. I don't think he fought in 2022, or if he did, he didn't win.
Well, he fought on the March Indigo card as well this year.
Oh, yeah.
He got a win on that card.
Yeah, he didn't have a fight in 2022, and then so to come back this year with back-to-back wins is much needed, and also against a 3-0 prospect, and he looked solid everywhere. So that was great. After Takamandu is where the night really started to pick up with that O'Meal Brown finish over Jessica Holland, which was crazy.
Incredible uppercut.
Absolutely phenomenal. He said after the fight that I had said to him, like, this is a really tough matchup after your loss to Skabinski, and he was like, this is what I wanted. I asked Cage Warriors for another wrestling guy, and it just so happens they gave me like one of the best guys they've got. And so to finish him like that was outrageous. Of course, the video that went big on social media was him and Rocky warming up. And yeah, all the work that they've done to work on his takedown defense and also how to use that takedown defense to set up offense paid off massively, because what a performance.
I mean,
everyone knows that the best takedown defense is a massive uppercut.
Yeah.
And it paid off.
I mean, he's shown in the past that he can do it on the ground. He's got a couple of guillotine finishes early in his career. But it's really the power that sets him apart. I think I was at his fight on the George Hardwick Kyle Driscoll card. Excellent knockout in that one. A couple minutes into the fight. That was the first time, I think, to me, he really started to... He looked like a guy who could go somewhere. Obviously, like you said, the Skibinski fight was a really tough matchup. Skibinski's a high-level Cage Warriors guy. Was just in there with Warhead before that, not that long ago. So, But yeah, he's on a good path. Hugh Holland's an experience. 8-1 guy coming into this one, so it's a good place. 2 losses on the bounce for Hugh Holland. It's tricky.
Yeah, I think probably, I know that this is jumping ahead a little bit, but that's okay because we got some big names throughout this recap to talk about. But I think Emil might have done enough to earn a vacant title fight with Madas Flaminas, who got another win higher up the card, defeating Skabinski. I know that Emil has only got the one fight winning streak at the moment after the loss to Skabinski, but I feel like he makes the most sense as kind of the most exciting guy. And then you got Flaminas, who is probably the most underrated guy in Cage Warriors, I would say. Like, just as I was interviewing him, Oban tweeted out that even after he's fought him, he still watches him and is confused by his style, which got a good little laugh out of Flaminas.
Yeah.
And he looked great again. Like, he's on such a good run at the moment.
I think he might have said that on the stream as well.
Yeah, probably did.
It does speak to it, though. It speaks to that point that he's always entertaining and he's a difficult puzzle for people to figure out. So if you've got Oban watching you, you're fucking good. Simple as.
Yeah, that's a good fight to make next for sure.
Yeah. As I mentioned when before we started recording, I didn't catch the majority of the Angus Hewitt Conor Hayes fight. I did see the crazy moments when I had time to kind of turn away from what I was doing and catch what was happening.
Really fun fight. Not much more to say.
Yeah, that seemed great.
Yeah.
Moving on from that, you had the final prelim of the night, which was Will Curry taking on Jorge Bueno. Will Curry gets the win to rebound from his loss to Mick Stanton. Thought he looked great. He cut an incredible promo right after it and dropped the mic and walked out right afterwards. So I didn't get to speak to him, but I did get to enjoy a phenomenal interview where he called out everybody and was just rattling off punchlines like nobody's business. Similarly, in the fight, rattling off a couple of elbows.
Did he call out Mark Goddard in that interview? Or
you know what? I can't remember. He probably did. But
I mean, do you want me to play it?
Yeah, we should say that this video is off of Cage Warriors' social media, so you can go, all the highlights. They're so good at posting the highlights up. So if there is anything that we mention, like, go check out the Emil Brown uppercut if you haven't seen it already.
Not to kind of jump on you there, Kyle. It's from the UFC Fight Pass Twitter.
Oh, okay, close enough. I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean,
Cage Warriors probably uploaded it as well.
Yeah. Cage Warriors are great at uploading stuff, so obviously credit to them for that. Credit to Fight Pass for this.
Drop some elbows from there. It's right in his corner. Yeah,
Stop. What are you doing? What are you doing? It's on the back of his head.
And Will Curry remonstrating with Mark Goddard here. Not the best course of action.
Stay there. Who are you talking to? I'm looking right at it. Twice. I don't need to watch the replay, Will. Blatant to the back of his head. Chris, come in. Stay away from the corner. Stay away from your corner.
Bueno is either very hurt or perhaps...
I don't need to watch the replay.
Something else.
I'm looking at it live, Will. It's what? Minimum twice. Straight to the illegal area. You can't do that, buddy. Not even close, Will.
Will saying he said he's going to quit now. And I mean, look, I wouldn't make any aspersions of that nature, but it's not looking like.
You don't need a replay.
It's not looking like Jorge Bueno is.
What a clip that is. Mark Goddard arguing with him like me and my mates arguing over a VAR call. I don't need to see the replay. So good.
It's at the start of the clip. It's at the start of the clip that gets me the most. When Will is like he's about to protest it for the second time, and Mark looks like a pissed off mother. He just goes, he's just trying to cut him off. Nip.
I have the same question as Mark Goddard. I would like to know who Will Curry was talking to.
Very good point. I don't know.
No, but we don't need to know. It adds to the intrigue.
I like this the second time when Will tries to walk over to the corner I don't know who it was. I think it might have been Modestas' father who like just told him to like go back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, good stuff. And they are a hilarious team together. Will, Modestas' dad, and Danny Batten. They are a lot of fun. And another solid performance for Will Curry. I think he probably needs one more before he gets a title fight again. But we'll see what's next for him. Now that we had the middleweight title fight in the main event, which we'll get to. If we talk about Harry Hardwick and how the Hardwicks are just the best duo in MMA right now, because outstanding, again, across the board.
I like on your interview with him, Kyle, when you were talking about the pace he was putting on, and he was like, "No, actually, that was pretty slow."
I felt like I was tripping because when I watched that, I was like, Jesus Christ, Harry is throwing everything at him to get him out of there. And yet, when I mentioned it to him, he was like, "Oh no, that I felt like it was really slow." And then I was like, "I'm gonna say that again, just to double check that he knows, like, we're on the same page here of what I'm saying." And he was still like, "No, I felt like there was loads of breaks." I was like, "All right, well, maybe I'm just wrong. I don't know."
No, from the fight that I watched, I don't think it was all that slow. I won't lie to you, Harry. I'm not trying to tell you your business. You know, that's not my place. But as far as fighting goes, that's pretty fucking quick, and it was pretty fucking impressive as well. So yeah, the Hardwick brothers, just get them to the UFC. Get them both to the UFC.
Yeah, really impressive. Obviously, we talked about the opponent in the preview show, but 6-0 Brazilian guy, but it was an unknown quantity. It wasn't anyone he would have seen a whole lot of before, I imagine. So
from Team Nogueira as well. So he hasn't come from nowhere. But yeah, good performance. I mean, the back take.
Yeah, really impressive. Get a submission over him. So that back take, man.
So good. And I suppose the bigger talking point with Harry, and we'll get onto it. We might as well talk about it now because apart from the main event, is the talking point for the rest of these fights is the featherweight division in Cage Warriors. And to me, obviously, we'll talk about Charrier and Vucenic's actual performances later on, but they both got wins. They both looked dominant in their fights as well. It feels to me like they're in a same position as Hughes, where they probably don't need to fight in Cage Warriors again. They could just wait. I don't know if they all will. I imagine at least one of them will fight again in Cage Warriors. But I feel like that little era where they all had super competitive fights with each other is over. And it feels like the division needs to move on because I just don't see those guys losing right now. And I think that after this weekend, if you're going to have a interim title fight, which they tried to book with Harry and Tobias Harila before Harila got injured, I feel like Harry after this weekend proved that he's the guy that if you are going to break up that little block of having Vucenic, Charrier and Hughes at the top, I think Harry Hardwick is the guy to do it with, unless he gets a Contender Series call-up, which is what he was very vocal about wanting because he was jealous of his younger brother.
Younger. No, that's bullshit. It's bullshit. I'm not buying it. It's a big elaborate prank. Just you fucking wait. But I think
we wouldn't put it past those two.
No,
you couldn't. No, I'd have to agree with you there. I think Hughes, Vucenic, and Morgan Charrier, they're it's like what we're seeing in the UFC a little bit, where you've got 2 or 3 guys at the top of a division who look to be leagues ahead of everyone else, and it just doesn't look like they're going to lose. Hardwick looks like he might switch it up a little bit. So, yeah, I think it's dependent on Paul Hughes as well and what Hughes wants to do. I think Charrier might stay he might stay in Cage Warriors. He always brings a crowd. He fights very often, or he's been fighting very often recently. He always brings a very good crowd with him as well. So I have a feeling Charrier might stay. Vucenic might get a call up. I think Hughes should get the call up. I've seen some people talking about maybe doing Charrier versus Hughes rematch on UFC Paris. That makes a lot of sense with the Paris card coming up. You could sign Charrier, but I'm not sure right now. I think either way, Hardwick deserves a shot at the top of that division.
I think Morgan might be off. I think that Paris card.
Yeah, if you're the UFC, how do you not, right?
Yeah.
He would like be probably their biggest French star over Ghana.
Yeah, you're probably right. Cyril Gahn, maybe in that conversation, but definitely up there. If not Cyril Gahn, probably second.
Yeah, Gahn is more a case of he's headlining their shows, and so he's come to be quite popular there. In kind of a
main event of pay-per-views too.
Yeah, that's true. And I think it's the same as kind of Aspinall in the UK. I don't feel like a lot of people are getting behind Tom Aspinall in the same way they were getting behind Paddy. He's just not as outspoken as Paddy is. Like, he's got personality for days, but it's just not in the same way Paddy was. But Aspinall has become a major star because he's headlined 3 out of 4 of the last 4 events in England. So, yeah, I think, I would, if Sharier gets booked for the Paris card, he's probably going to be the most famous person on it.
Yeah. Next up, after Harry Hardwick, you had another one of the top featherweights in the division who I don't know if I would have quite in those like conversations that we've just been having yet. Of course, talking about Luke Riley. He's been pretty open about that himself, of like not wanting to rush and taking things step by step. So I think that it's fair to say that he isn't in those conversations right now, but a solid performance from Luke Riley.
He's only 24. Very young guy. Very, very young. And I'm not just saying that for any other reason. Because that may or may not be how old I am. But no, I still have him classed as a prospect, but only just. He's not far from cracking in with that group.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that I would expect Luke Riley to get to a point where he is. We're talking about UFC call-ups, and I think that'll be a really big deal.
Give it a couple years.
Yeah, I just think when he gets there, I think he's going to be a big deal. And he's phenomenal in interviews as well. Like has got that bit about him where he's got charisma, but he's also just a really honest and open guy. And I feel like I said, once he cracks that next level, I feel like he's going to be a big deal for Cage Warriors and eventually the UFC. And I hope that it means that Cage Warriors can somehow get back to Liverpool, even though that city seems really against putting on MMA events at the moment. But I feel like it would be cool to get back there at some point to do that.
Well, there's got to be other venues they can go to, even if it's a smaller venue. Yeah.
I suppose the Manchester one is just easy. And they always seem to do really well.
You can put him on Manchester as well.
Yeah, he wants to come back in the Manchester card, which I think is in September. I think it's September. It could be later. I know there's that and Newcastle.
29.
Okay. He could reasonably fight at Newcastle if that's too early, but we'll see. I can't remember which order they go in. So we already spoke about Maz Flaminas. I don't think there's much else to say about Morgan Charrier. We've already said that he probably should be on that Paris card, and it would be a huge deal. I just don't think there's anything left for him in Cage Warriors. He doesn't need to fight a Harry Hardwick. He doesn't need to fight a Harilla. And he definitely doesn't need to fight Paul Hughes or Vucenic again in Cage Warriors. So that's about that. And I think the same goes for Jordan Vucenic. I just don't think there's anything left for him to do in Cage Warriors. Like, sure, he could carry on fighting and winning, but I don't think it proves anything he hasn't already proven.
No, that's it. Like, it's an issue when you look at those guys. They can keep on fighting contenders as they come in because there's always going to be a new flock of fighters coming in. Like Ian Dean and Graham Boylan, they're always signing new fighters and they're always putting together new matchups. And after a couple of wins, the guys could end up in title contention. But what is it actually doing for them, really? They've all made their statements about how good they are. And now it's time for them to go to the UFC. I just have a bit of a weird feeling Charrier is not going to leave yet. I think he's going to be around for a couple more fights. But I would be very glad to be wrong because I think he deserves to be on the Paris card.
So just while we're still talking about featherweights, there is some reports that Luke Riley is already lined up for that Manchester card.
That's what I was thinking. I was going to say
Alexander Loof, Swedish guy.
Oh yeah, I did see that this morning. Yes.
Yeah. I was thinking it was very soon afterwards. He was already linked to a fight. So
Swedish 5-0.
It's great that he's staying active. It's great that he's, because with young guys, if they're out for a good couple of months at a time, it can stall their progression a little bit. So I'm delighted to see, because he's a great prospect.
Yeah, it feels like we've been talking about Luke Riley for quite some time, and yet he made his pro debut in October 2021, which is mad. So yeah, he stayed super active. I mean, it helps when you have a lot of finishes. And his style is so exciting to watch. Yeah, big fan of Luke Riley. So yeah, we've said everything about Vucenic, and then the main event was a strange one. It was a really good round between James Webb and Mick Stanton that didn't play out how most people thought it would. And I thought James Webb was well on his way to becoming, to joining that list of very exclusive 2-time Cage Warriors world champions. And then Mick Stanton just flipped the script. And I was lost for words, to be honest, because like when you're watching a fight, especially in a media room, and you're thinking up questions already, and then suddenly flick of a switch and Stanton retains, and then suddenly all the talk is about him versus Darren Stewart, most likely next. So yeah, completely changed the whole script on us.
Yeah, incredible comeback. Webb, like you said, well on his way to getting that done. And then seemingly out of nowhere, Stanton just was able to get that finished. No signs that it was coming. Webb looked far and away ahead in that fight. Looked like he would have finished him, and then Mick Stanton just super impressive. And crazy round, incredible fight.
Yeah, really good. I wonder how many impressive wins Mick Stanton would have to put together to get a call up to something bigger. Because it feels like a weird point where we're not having that conversation, despite him taking out the top prospect in the division in Will Curry and then the former champ James Webb. Like,
it's the age, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's 36.
And it's the amount of fights that he's had, and it's that kind of thing where you know, we're not really expecting him to get a UFC call up. He might get one. There might be a short notice call up, something like that. But I wouldn't be holding my breath on. You know, he just gets signed out of the blue and he's put on a card. Shit.
He's 12-7. That's not the kind of record UFC are looking for in a 36-year-old. I mean, and he's obviously, like, no disrespect, he's on a great run at the minute. He's on the best form of his career, honestly. But you know, it's a tricky one.
Yeah. If he does fight Darren Stewart, you know, I'm not other guys in that division I'm rooting for here, Ratton. You know, I'm just saying, I hope it's a good fight. That's all. You know,
and there are other guys in that division in a similar position to Webb's another one who, if he won that fight and won a couple more, it's still a tricky. Like, he's a bit younger, I think, but it's a tricky one.
Still, like the UFC, they have a tough time signing guys who are kind of in their mid to late 30s, or like anything past 33, 34. You don't really expect them to get signed. That's why a lot of people were surprised when Michael Chandler got signed. You know, because he had already had a very established run in Bellator, and he was kind of getting to his mid 30s. So, look, you never know.
Maybe there's maybe another man from Bellator in that similar bracket on the way.
Yes, yeah. I don't think so.
We'll see.
I'm honestly convinced of it now. You have to.
Nah.
I think I'm quite convinced as well. However,
How do you not do him and Stephen Thompson?
What I am concerned about now is that I thought that was like a really big deal, and then he appeared on the screens at UFC London, which I didn't watch live. I watched it back yesterday, and it was like no one had ever heard of him.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was different in the arena, but from people who were in the arena, it seemed like it was the same story.
The arena wasn't popping for anyone.
No,
Paddy Pimblett got like a gold clap. Leon got a little bit. Not much for Chimaev. Dele Alli didn't get anything. Maya Jama didn't get anything.
Did they not show Louis Theroux? Because I know he was in attendance.
I don't think so. He was there.
Like, that's a fucking travesty.
He would have got a pop, 100%.
That's a travesty. You can't have Louis Theroux in the building and then not show him on the screen. That's... Jeez, what are they doing at all?
I saw people speculating that he's actually there because he's doing like an expose on Dana White.
Oh, I hope.
I As much as I love Louis Theroux, and that would be quite the documentary. I don't want all of my friends to be like, oh, this is what MMA is.
No. Tangent quickly. You know that UFC sweepstakes, the matchmaker thing?
Oh yeah.
I had a look at the terms and conditions of that. They do because the prize is like go in there, meet Dana, go in like a matchmaker's meeting, right? And they fly you out to New York for the card as well. On the terms and conditions, they do a background check of you. And like you have to like give them your social media. So presumably if you've like talked crap about Dana White, you're not gonna win.
That's why I didn't enter under my own name.
I don't have social media.
I'm not even. I wasn't even. I realized like they're gonna do background checks, and you know, I've talked quite a lot of shit about the UFC. And also I'm not of age to get flown out, so I had to enter under my dad's name.
Yeah.
So,
I may have entered.
Yeah, no, like I'll swallow my morals if I win.
I
That's
unfortunately didn't put Parker Porter in every fight. That was my first mistake.
You bastard, you. I actually put together a solid one because I want a chance to win. That's all.
It's completely random. It's not based on the best card.
Oh fuck! I should have put Parker Porter in it then.
I went like Jones and Aspinall main event.
You gotta go Parker Porter versus John Jones rematch.
Who? Sorry.
Parker Porter versus John Jones rematch of their classic 2010 fight, something like that.
Yeah. Shout out to on to the next one. I'm fighting for this one. They were talking about a possible matchup: Mick Parkin versus Parker Porter. How do you know? Parkin versus Parker.
Oh
no. Just no.
If that happens, we're doing a whole Verbal Money dedicated to it.
Yeah.
Just the greatest fight in the history of Violent Money.
Mick Parkin versus Parker Porter. Jesus, why would you even speak that into existence?
I'm just blame Mike Heck.
Oh, fuck you, Mike Heck. I have not much respect for Mike Heck. He puts on an absolutely fantastic show. Not as good as us, though.
We should actually get onto this London card now.
We probably should.
Yeah. Because there's probably going to be a lot of this throughout the card anyway. I assume you guys just want to start from the bottom. I didn't pay like a super close attention to some of the fights apart from the ones that I knew the results before I watched it. Yeah. So unless there was like a big talking point or somebody that I was really interested in seeing how they performed, then I went back and watched it properly. Otherwise, I just had it on. So I will leave you guys to talk about the first few fights, and I'll just jump in when I got some.
So apparently this first fight was like a really good comeback, but as you know, the fight had already started when we were still on stream. So by the time I got downstairs, turned on Fight Pass, like Yafel Filo was already sinking in that submission. So I didn't get to see the comeback.
No, while we were still stream, we were just wrapping up the stream after Oban left, and we had just ended the broadcast, and Steve and I were just kind of chatting away. And he was like, "All right, I'll end this, and I have to go downstairs to watch it now because it looks like the fighters are already in the ring." And I was like, "Steve, the fight started a minute ago. I've been watching it. It's like you're gonna need to run." But
I just caught the finish.
Yeah, Barrez was shit kicking him, and I was really impressed because I rate Filio after what he did to Makayev's knee. Yeah, but Filio he got back into the fight, got a very good submission. Front runner for comeback of the year so far, I'd say. But I can't remember most of the fights from this year. I won't lie to you. I don't even really know what knockout of the year is so far. There's been good fights this year, but none of them spring to mind. What was the best fight that happened this year? Pantoja, Moreno?
That's up there.
Yeah, that's about it. So, yeah, no, Filio though he was fantastic. Who was the? Oh, I remember who the second fight was.
You don't want to talk about this.
It's a sad day. I was very excited. I had my grandmother there to watch. You know, we were saying, you know, this was the next coming of Christ. Ireland was finally going to have a world champion again, and yeah, just wasn't Sean O'Bannon's day, unfortunately. McGregor somehow reckoned she won 2-1. There's a better argument that it was fucking 3-0 for Bruno Brazil than there was a 2-1 argument for Sean O'Bannon. So yeah, I had a 2-1 to Brazil. I thought Bannon won the third round.
Yeah,
and she's got time. Does she have time? No, but she. Okay, it's not that she doesn't have time. It's not that she doesn't have time. She has time to improve, but she is relatively inexperienced as a pro. Yeah. And I've seen some people say maybe it's a bit too early. She's only had 5 pro fights before that. So yeah, I think she can improve, and it'll be a good learning experience. But it was a good win for Bruno Brazil, to be fair.
And there's 5 pro fights have all been in a pretty short amount of time, because it doesn't seem like long ago she fought Chanel Dyer on the amateur circuit.
No, that was the amateurs. So yeah, I think
I am not going to say anything. I'm not going to say anything else about Sean O'Bannon and at risk of being in trouble with Owen Elliott.
Oh, incredible!
You were loving that fight, Steve.
The reason I didn't say anything is because I haven't got anything to say. I barely watched it.
Yeah, likewise. I kind of like I read about what people were saying about the fight, and then I watched the first round, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I see what people are saying, and then the other I did watch the other 2 rounds, but not super closely.
No,
and it was interesting listening to the live show that you guys did after watching all of these fights, and kind of seeing what you guys said about it beforehand.
We
which is
barely talked about any fights.
No, that is very true.
We talked about Paul Craig, and that's about it.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. In classic verbal muddy fashion, I think you spent about 15 minutes on Paul Craig and then nothing else.
Yeah, we love talking about Paul Craig. All right, Paul Craig's fucking class.
We will get to Paul Craig because
we spent more time talking about Owen Elliott's car than Paul Craig.
Oh, the anticipation was killing me, even watching it back.
You and Richard.
yeah, me and Richard really wanted to see that car.
The fucking the Energized boys had already seen it. They started this whole thing. So
everything went off the rails as soon as they commented about Oban's car.
Yeah, and that's what killed like his quality. Like the stream was perfect until then, and it never quite recovered.
Yeah. No, it was kind of glitchy after that, but still absolutely fantastic. I know the event has come and gone, but please go back and watch it if you haven't gotten the chance. That was tremendous. You know who else was tremendous? Chris Duncan.
Yes,
Chris Duncan. Jesus Christ!
That's a man that's been training with Dustin Poirier.
That's a man. That's a man who's got the VM1 stat boost. That's what the man is got. Paulie was right. You put that on, it's like sanctioned cheating. You get a stat boost straight away. I've never seen him so quick. I've never seen him so powerful. I've never seen him so agile. Like his training with the guys at ATT, it really has paid off. He looked fantastic in there. And I know Ash Moose broke his wrist in the first round, but Chris Duncan broke his wrist. I think it was from blocking a kick, from what I understand. But yeah, I thought that was absolutely sensational performance from Chris Duncan.
So are we just gonna skip over this next one, or?
Yeah, no, I have no time for this.
Let me.
That's our next title challenger, by the way. At bantamweight, that's what we've got.
No, she's further down after that fight. I don't care that she's done before.
No, fuck that.
Holly Holm's still getting the call before her. Misha Tate's probably getting a call before her.
Muradov and Barbarina, a bizarre fight. There was more headbutts on this card than I've ever seen in any other card. There were so many headbutts.
There was some on the Cage Warriors card as well.
Yeah.
It was such a busy weekend for headbutts.
It was such an odd fight as well. And that time when Barbarina left, he did a 180 and turned around, and Muradov went over and banged him in the back of the head.
That was great.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what
I didn't think Barbarina's move to 185 would go well. I don't think I didn't think his move to 185 was going to go well, because he was, as I was saying, he's always kind of a tubby welterweight. So I don't see what the move to middleweight was going to do for him. Yeah, he was just outmatched against Muradov. The headbutt though was awful. It was so he just stood there and did that. Like there was no finesse about it. It was just a classic Mark Coleman headbutt.
before we talk about one half of the upcoming Parkin versus Parker fight, which I still can't wait for, I want to give a shout out to Chris Duncan for my favorite tweet that I saw this whole weekend, where after the fight, someone was saying was replying on Twitter saying that you can't call his performance a masterclass when he fought a guy with one arm. And Chris Duncan's reply is one of the most Scottish things I've ever seen, and I'm all about it. He said, "Wonder how he broke his arm, you pink velvet sausage wallet," which is frankly an underutilized phrase that I've never heard before.
No one does it like him.
Underutilized in the sense that it might have been the first ever time it was utilized.
Yeah, exactly. Frankly, he should win a performance of the night bonus for that tweet alone.
Often imitated, but never replicated, my friends. Chris Duncan is on another level.
Now we can move on to Mick Parkin, who put in a pretty good performance against Jamal Pogues. I thought looked. I think the most important thing for him after he fought an opponent on Contender Series who just came out swinging is he got to show that he's a technical heavyweight and not just a guy that can take a shot and keep on fighting. So I think he got to show a little bit more of his game. And for a guy that was only 6-0 coming into this fight, I thought that he looked far more experienced than Pogues on the night.
Yeah, he looked very refined in there. You can see that he's getting in the work with Team BFG. I believe Andy Stevenson has coined them. So yeah, I think Mick Parkin is something definitely to look at for the future of heavyweight. Can he get past the immovable object that is Parker Porter? We'll never know until it happens. Then again, the universe might just explode if those two try to step into the ring together. So I don't know. I was impressed by Parkin. I was thoroughly unimpressed by Jamal Pogues. That was. I don't understand how he was the favorite. I just don't. He wasn't very good, was he? He got like 16% accuracy or something. That's. So I put it into the calculator on my phone to work out what he got, because he got something like 16 out of 103 strikes landed, which, is a credit to 15.5% accuracy rate. We'll call that 16. We'll do him a favor. We'll round up. So on the one hand, speaks to perhaps the defensive skill of Mick Parkin. On the other hand, 16 strikes in 3 rounds. I don't want to say fraud check because he didn't have hype, but still, I'm counting that as one of the better fraud checks of the year so far.
Wow. I never thought I would hear the words Jamal Pogues and hype like that. That's a strange thing that I hadn't considered before. Moving on to Macha Casey's fight, he got submitted.
Another great headbutt stoppage.
Yeah. That is going to be the main talking point, of course, of this one. Away from the headbutt, which was obviously a huge factor in the end of the fight, I was at first I think I didn't quite take into account how bad the headbutt was, and then when I saw it on the replay again, I was like, okay, no, that's a legitimate reason for changing the result. Because I was just gutted for Macha Casey at first. It constantly feels like we're building towards something and there's a few steps back before there's any few steps forward. So it was frustrating, and then even more frustrating when you see the headbutt again and you're like, well, that was definitely a factor.
He was doing okay as well. I expected him to get trounced because I rate Alvarez very highly, but I thought he was doing okay. So it was a shame to see that he got headbutted, and it was neither guy's fault. But look, it is what it is. It's probably unlikely it's going to get overturned. I hope it does though, because it was very clearly affected him. And he called to the ref. He said, "I got headbutted." He pointed exactly where he got headbutted.
Yep.
And the ref went, "I don't know."
I mean, you can see it as well. I'm not sure how the ref didn't see that.
No, that's England for you.
Yeah. I know we were talking about the Muradov one, but which fight was it where they like kind of ran into each other? Was that Muradov and Brian Barberena? Where they like kind of clashed in the middle and both were down.
I remember
that was
both.
Muradov.
Yeah, there was 2 headbutts in that fight. If I remember correctly.
There was the one like Muradov, and then there was one where they like clashed in the middle.
Yeah, there was one where they kind of ran into each other, and
they were
the other
both
one was Muradov from guard doing that. So
yeah,
man fucking loves his headbutts.
It was
bring back headbutts.
Was it on Cage Warriors? It was Ogborn, right? Like in the Takamandu fight. Was that a headbutt? Was there one in that? I know he kicked him in the dick.
Yeah, a couple of times.
There was a headbutt in that one
as
well, right? Yeah.
One of those might have been a headbutt instead, yeah.
I know there was some headbutts on that show too. Anyway.
I don't know if you guys saw the clip on Instagram or Twitter, but Taka's response to that is hilarious.
I have
little
not.
plug there to
I
check.
think I have it now.
I'm gonna.
Let's move on to the second best fight of the night between Danny Roberts and Johnny Parsons.
Not if you are for UFC.
Yeah, well, I don't think we need to. A pretty standard Danny Roberts fight, I think, is the best assumption.
Yeah, he does quite well. He does the fucking shaky leg. He loses, unfortunately. It sucks. It sucks because he's so entertaining. But yeah, Johnny Parsons talking about other people having a shit haircut. Like
that was funny. I mean, he does have a point with Paddy, but that was funny.
You know, he has a point with Paddy, but still, there's no point.
Not a good call out though.
No.
When you're Johnny Parsons, who's had one UFC fight and is a welterweight,
who wants to fight Paddy Billnet, and then I think I saw on MMA Junkie today. Now he wants to fight MVP.
In the press conference, he was like, "Nah, that was a bad call out. I want to fight MVP instead." You ain't getting that either.
No. Fucking hell.
No,
just from the chat, I saw Jamie posted.
Jamie
posted just there. Molly McCann is announcing that she's moving down to strawweight.
That's rough.
Yeah, I don't know how I would feel about that. That's.
I was gonna. I just saw that too. I was gonna bring that up when we got to that fight.
Yeah, everyone knows when you're going through a rough patch, having to cut another 10 pounds will always aid your performance.
I mean, it worked for Julia Stolyarenko.
Somehow.
The fuck? We'll get to that. Let's move on. Let's move on to David Grant.
Quickly on Parsons and Danny Roberts. Either fighter by TKO or KO was like the easiest bet in the world, right?
Oh, yeah. Gotcha.
That was gonna happen.
For sure. Yeah.
And I would have won my accumulator with that on if the judges were competent in this next fight.
Congratulations to David Grant on his win. I thought it was well deserved.
Uh-huh.
I didn't watch this one super closely because I'd seen everyone on Twitter saying that it was a robbery before I'd watched it. So I was like, okay, well, I think I watched the first round and was like, let me see actually how close this is. And then I was like, oh, okay, everyone is saying that it was a robbery, so I guess I don't need to. So
Americans were saying the British fighter won. That's how much of a robbery it was.
Wow. Okay, yeah. Point proven. How did you guys have it?
29-28 grand, I think.
Yeah.
I think, the first 2 rounds, I think maybe I give the first round to Grant, the second round to Marcos, and the third round I thought was Grant. I thought it was pretty clear. Like, I wasn't watching it super intensely because they fucked up the bout order a bit because there was too many decisions on the prelims. So the Davy Grant fight ended up on the main card somehow. 7-fight main card. Never again. It's too many fights. It's way. I don't even like 6-fight main cards. No, it's too many. But
give me a Bellator 4-fight main card any day.
4-fight main card, a good 4 fights. There's nothing wrong with it. But I thought David Grant won. I thought it was pretty simple.
Yeah, I can't say I was watching close enough to actually score it, but yeah, I thought Davey won definitely.
And you see, Charles Rosa was in Marcos's corner.
Yes, finally
getting so nervous around split decisions. Delighted that he's actually come out on top of a fucking split decision for once.
Well, did you see how hard he was celebrating? Dude was jumping
And
in
like
the air.
when they called out like 29, 28 grand, he went, get the fuck. Just because you can't win a fucking split decision. Dick.
He's been there many times.
Future UFC champion, you know, just get them the right way.
Well, that's one down. So the
That's one
tables
down.
are turning. I know it wasn't for him, but the tables are turning. Next up, you had Lerone Murphy versus Josh Culibao. This is one of the fights that I went back and watched properly, even though I heard that Lerone won it fairly comfortably. I was like, well, I rate Josh Culibao, so I actually want to go back and watch this and see just how good Lerone looked. And I think we kind of mentioned this in our preview episode where Lerone had been saying that the last fight that he had, where everyone was a bit like, "Ooh, that doesn't look good," was just a one-off. I think he basically proved that that is the case, and that we should demand that much from him going forward because he looked back to his best.
Yeah, I feel like this was the best performance of his career.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I think that the first 2 rounds were competitive. Culibao was in the fight, definitely, but the third round was a fucking molly whopping. And 30-26 is deserved. I think the third round was definitely a 10-8, and he deserved to win the first 2 as well.
Yeah, that third round had me thinking like, is Culibao injured? What's wrong with him? When he kicked him in the stomach, did he break a rib? What's going on there? That's what I was thinking in the third round. That's how dominant that was.
Yeah, they're like even the commentators were saying it's just either Culibao is injured or Murphy has beat the fight out of him. And it was just like his toes just glanced over the solar plexus and winded him, and there was nothing he could do about it for the rest of the round. So thoroughly impressed with Lerone Murphy, and I think we need to get the Nathaniel Wood fight. Let's just get it out of the way.
The only reason I would say no is because you need to do that fight in the UK, and I feel like they would want one more each before March.
That's true. Bollocks, yeah.
So you're looking at ranked, you need.
You're looking
at ranked opponents though, 100%.
Yeah, but like, could you not just do it at MSG maybe? You know what they say? MSG is the England of America. That's what everyone says.
York's up north. That's not a million miles from Manchester.
Look, let's just all right. Can we do it in Dublin? Can we put that on the Cage Warrior show in Dublin so we have a solid main event? One fight detour.
I know that it's like super risky because there is the chance that now that they're both probably going to be fighting in and around the top 15 next time out, there's a chance that either guy will lose and then it won't make any sense. I feel like leave this until they can do a fight night headliner.
Yeah.
Like I want that fight over 5 rounds. Not because I'm like, at this point, after the meeting between them at the hotel where everyone was like, oh my God, the rivalry, they just kind of had like a polite disagreement. So after that, I was like, I don't really care about the rivalry, but if they do both want to fight each other, they're both so good, and their styles would be incredible against each other for 5 rounds. Yeah. I'm just like, just let it build.
Give it a year.
And also, both of them are so good right now that I don't want either of them to have to take a step back from it. But obviously, the risk in that is, you know, as we'll get to, Nathaniel Wood's calling out like Edson Barboza. Like there is a chance that one of these guys loses the next fight, and then we might never see Wood versus Murphy. Who knows? But definitely a top 15 next for Lerone for sure.
I worry that Barboza would be a bit too big for Wood.
Yeah, I was just about to say Barboza was a massive lightweight, and now you're throwing him up with a guy who used to be an average-sized bantamweight.
Yeah, I think it was you, Steve, that said in the group chat that Barboza is a better fight for Lerone.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to Barboza and Lerone Murphy.
I think that would be a great fight.
And Nathaniel Wood, I don't know who's around the top of the rankings.
He called out Edson and Korean Zombie, which he's not going to get. Korean Zombie.
No, Zombie's going to retire after he fights Holloway, surely.
Sadiq Youssef was a name that I was thinking if he ever shows up again, but I think you might see him and Giga. That might be the fight, I think. So.
Is Giga ever coming back?
Yeah. I mean, they were scheduled back in October. Giga pulled out, and that's when Sadiq pulled out like that dominant win over Don Shainis, and then
that's right. Yeah.
Hasn't been seen since.
Yeah, he's been doing unprofessional breakdowns, which is like the best breakdown series on YouTube. Always bet on Bisping, fellas. Don't you ever forget it. Who is next
moving
on this
on.
card, actually?
Jai Herbert versus Faris Siam.
I don't think we don't need to talk a ton about this one. I don't think.
I don't think so.
It wasn't great. It wasn't great, honestly.
What surprised me the most is that we, in the preview show, spotlighted that if Ash Moose beats Chris Duncan, we need to send George Hardwick to avenge the losses. And now we might need to send George Hardwick to fight Faris Siam now that he's taken out Figlak and Jai Herbert. This can't continue. This has to end.
Don't hate that. Don't hate that.
No, it doesn't make sense. Actually,
in reality, he's got more chance of fighting Paddy. But
well, Faris Siam's a good kickboxer who just doesn't have any grappling, and that's the deal. That's the deal.
I don't know. I like Ziam. I think he's a solid fighter, but that fight, that fight didn't do it for me. Oh, like that kind of no. That it stole the card, if you ask me. Which is an odd thing for Jai Herbert to do, because he's Jai Herbert, you know.
Yeah, Jai Herbert stole the card, and it was woken up by Paul Craig.
It's what Paul Craig does.
It's what Paul Craig does. They said I was a madman picking Paul Craig. Everyone there laughing at me on the staff picks. Paul Craig. No, everyone's going with fucking Andre Muniz. Nah. I knew the Bear G was getting it done. I knew.
Looked good at middleweight. Love the call out too at the end. We'll come on to that.
Yeah.
I'm never going to slag off Paul Craig ever again. Like, not that we did, but on the preview show, we were like, "Oh, isn't it crazy that a year ago we were talking about a main event headliner?" It's because every single fight he's in is crazy. Like, either you're like,
I'm gonna challenge you on that.
Oh, okay. Recently, yes, but that was even if you didn't watch the card live, you had to go back and watch that because you were like, everyone was like, that was a really strange fight. Don't get wrong, it was not a good fight, but I will always remember it. Like,
yeah, you remember because it's the outlier of Paul Craig fights. Like that and the first Shogun fight are the only fights he's ever had that went to a decision, and
someone was bad.
It's the only fight where he hasn't, you know. He hasn't made it entertaining, whether he's getting knocked out or knocking someone out or tapping someone out or whatever it is. That's the single outlier of a shit Paul Craig fight.
I just have come to the conclusion that Paul Craig knows better than I do, because when he was like, I was a middleweight who was fighting at light heavyweight, I was like, really? Paul Craig seems massive. And then every time I saw him, whether it was the weigh-ins or the fight itself, I was like, Paul Craig looks so confident. Like, you know what? Fair play to him. It's all the tag teams he's been doing with Chris Bungard.
I'm gonna say that's ICW tag team champion Paul Craig you're talking about.
And then goes in there and gets a second round finish. Performance of the night. But like, what a guy Paul Craig is.
He's now second of all time.
Perfect.
He's now second all time for performance bonuses.
If that man doesn't deserve praise and at some point a main event when he is second for performance bonuses, like, that is insane. I love Paul Craig. What a guy.
You know what? I'm back on the train. Paul Craig main event. I'm in.
Anthony Smith. I don't care. He's not in the division anymore.
It's fine. Anthony Smith. Yeah. That's what we deserve. That's what we're getting. All right. No, I think Craig versus Bo Nickel would make for a solid main event. Although I think they're only putting Nickel on pay-per-views.
I don't know if I want to see that for 5 rounds just in case it goes longer than a round. I don't think it will, but if it does, let's just can we just have it? Can it just be a 1-round fight?
It's kind of insane to say that Paul Craig should like pull guard against Bo Nickel.
Yeah, like
because like Bo Nickel's got hands.
Yeah. Yeah,
and like if it's on the ground and Paul Craig's on the bottom, he has a chance of getting a submission. But like if it's on the hands, I don't like his chances. If it's on the feet,
the issue is I don't see Paul Craig taking him down, and I don't know how that striking match looks.
Ref rings the bell, lay down.
Steve, unfortunately, it seems like you are the person who has forgotten the Oosterdamir fight, because all that Oosterdamir had to do was step away, and that was his whole training camp.
I'll have you know, I was in the crowd for that Oosterdamir fight. Yeah.
Right, what have we got left to talk about? We kind of already spoke about Nathaniel Wood, but we spoke about what's kind of next for him. But what a fight with Andre Fili. I don't think Andre gets the respect that he deserves for being a fun fighter all the time, and proved it. And Nathaniel Wood continues to surprise us all when we were like, he's going up a division, and just still looks great.
Yeah. He's been really impressive on this one.
Yeah, another great win.
Hell of a fight too.
Yeah, so good. So good. I think we are losing Jake. If we are, we only have 2 fights left to talk about, so it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, it's all good. Yes.
I don't know what this says. Oh, okay. All right, staff picks. Good to know. See you later.
Okay, cool.
Finally,
we'll go over this quickly at the end.
Yeah. We've only got the last 2 fights to talk about, and I feel like there isn't a ton.
One of them was 73 seconds, so I think we're all right.
Yeah, the other one wasn't much longer, so.
True. But no, on Nathaniel Wood, incredible fight, best fight of the night. You can't kill Nathaniel Wood. That's what I take away from that first round. This might have been his Josh Reed moment in the UFC.
Yeah, that was absolutely crazy. I've been surprised by that several times throughout his career of the amount of shots that Nathaniel Wood can take. But when he got rocked and then he got put in that tie clinch and was just eating knees, I was like, this, I don't know how he's still in this fight.
It looked rough. And
also, didn't wear that much damage considering the shots that he had taken. Crazy. But such a good win, and so happy for Nathaniel Wood. He's been really unlucky as well.
Robbed of a fight of the night bonus.
Massively.
Yeah.
The Danny Roberts fight was really good, but it was not. I don't think it was close even, and I think a lot of people have said that as well.
Yeah.
Moving on to the co-main event, I think we did a really good job in the preview of not beating up on Molly McCann and her potential, but instead beating up on the opponent she had been given and the card placement. Obviously, we were kind of wrong about the opponent because she ended up submitting Molly McCann in the first round. However, I think that this speaks to our argument, which was this isn't a high-level fight. It shouldn't be the co-main event, and I feel like we were justified in that after watching the fight.
Yeah, I mean, no matter what we said coming in, we knew there was the potential of this happening because I think Stoliarenko's a black belt, and Molly McCann's just, as much as you don't like to say it, not that great on the ground.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Yeah, I completely agree, and my worry is that by putting her in big slots like this is that it will make the general fan base that do buy tickets to watch Molly McCann fight, it will make them not want to watch her fight, which I think is harsh because we said it last week. She puts on, in certain matchups, she puts on great fights. And so putting her in there with people who are going to submit her in the first round is like, I don't know what you're doing.
Well, it's like, you need to be careful with the matchups and you need to put her a bit low on the card. I think that's fine. There's enough decent strikers who will strike that you can put her in with, and there'd be good fights and she could win some of them. But you just need to be a bit more selective. It's almost the same as Paddy at this point.
Yeah, agreed.
It's just like she got a couple wins against less than high caliber opponents, let's say, and then they rushed her and they obviously built Erin Blanchfield off of her, which is good because Erin Blanchfield's the future champion, as I predicted at the start of the year. Maybe the wrong division.
Yeah, well, happens.
But they kind of built her up and then fed her to Erin, and they've got her for these UK shows. That's kind of what her ceiling is at this point. You can have good fights on UK shows, and draw a crowd because she's still popular. Even if she can lose fights and still be popular, she's got the personality for it. So you just need to be a bit selective with who you throw in there with her.
Yeah, for sure. And finally, in the main event, the man that Steve almost killed with a door returned, this time with 2 legs. And
2 legs. Tommy 2 legs.
You know what is crazy? And I don't get me wrong, I do this a lot with fights, right? But a week before this fight, I was like, I don't hate the idea of him coming back and just getting back in there against somebody who is on a bit of a win streak and stuff like that, no matter if the guy looked good or not. I was like, he's going to walk through Marcin Tybura. Yeah. And then throughout the week, I kept thinking, Tybura's talking a good game, you know? Like, he looked in probably the best shape we've ever seen him in.
I mean, he definitely lost weight, as Tom pointed out in the interviews and at the weigh-ins.
Yeah.
By like the little tap to the stomach.
Yeah,
that was great.
I think it's just because it's been so long since the Volkov fight that I forgot how good Tom Aspinall actually is. Because the Blades fight, we were all like, Tom should win this, but it's a tough fight. And so I think maybe I haven't had that feeling of getting insanely hyped up for a while, because the Blades fight, I was like, I think he should win, but it's going to be tough. But Tom Aspinall is really bloody good, is the summary of the main event. And he is a future heavyweight champion for sure.
Yeah, I don't think Tom would have blasted through Curtis Blades like he did with Tybura, but that's what this fight was. I mean, this fight was made to get Tom, to get him back, to get him in front of the home crowd again, to kind of give him a good win. And the thing, Marcin Tybura is a really good fighter, and he makes other fighters look bad.
Yeah.
Which was a risk if this went long. That he could grapple with Tom, and Tom's a great grappler, but you know, Tybura is a big guy. If Tybura can hold him against the fence, it could have been a bad fight, and Tom would have not looked great in that occurrence, but it went about as well as it could have done. We can't really argue that.
Yeah, that's what I was worried about, is if Tybura could make it ugly, because we haven't really seen what an ugly Tom Aspinall fight looks like yet.
Yeah.
But he was so far above that there was never an opportunity for Tybura to do that, because he just hit him and got out. But Tom Aspinall must be up there for like the strike. I don't know, because he's a heavyweight. He finishes guys with so little strikes. But
he has the shortest average fight time in UFC history.
I mean, yeah, that's
granted. One of them's a 15-second injury.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I mean,
he's got to be up there for least strikes absorbed per like 15. He hasn't even been the distance, has he? So
can't picture any heavyweights that would have less.
But
Elton's probably there.
There have been several fights where he's been hit once or twice. Yeah. I don't even know if he got hit by Tybura. He might have been hit by a leg kick or something.
On the broadcast, they said no, but there might have been a couple. There might have been a couple to the body when they kind of tied up.
That elbow that he landed, and then the straight right behind it is just phenomenal. Like, yeah. I
mean, if there was any doubt about the way it was going to go when he threw that head kick, you're like, okay, we know how this is going to go.
Yeah, I'm such a fan of Tom Aspinall, and I can't wait to see where this goes.
And I mean, just to bring it back to Cage Warriors on the door. You were there at the weekend. You've seen that door. It's a big old door.
Yeah, no, I understand. And it is really difficult to predict when someone is going to be on the other side of it, because people constantly come and go.
Such as a fighter about to make a walkout.
As I well learned. Or Mark Goddard, who I believe I stood on his foot. So apologies to Mark Goddard. He definitely doesn't need the replay for that one either.
Yeah, that's why he was so mad.
Maybe so.
That's why he was so mad at Will. He's taking out on poor Will.
Yeah, maybe. Finally, we should touch on the staff picks, which I didn't participate in this one because I just ran out of time.
I mean, I'm gonna try and pull them up if you just want to we'll scroll over them quickly, and then if you just want to read out the results.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So I don't think I would have done particularly well, because the UK guys went 50-50 on this card. And I probably would have picked all of them. So that's how I would have done. Jake, however,
Jake's doing well.
Did pretty well.
Tom Aspinall, not a whole lot of surprising there. Everyone Everyone's on the right lines. Corley not too confident in Tom, apparently. Just a case of whether you get the method. I mean, it's kind of embarrassing to say, but I don't really know how Jake's doing the points. I don't know if you get more points for method, if you get points for just picking the winner. I don't know what the deal is here.
How many fights were there on the card?
15? It was a big one.
15, yeah, wow. So yeah, it must be a
all
point.
Of us,
must be a point for the winner, point for the method, point for the round.
Yeah, cool. All of us way off on this one.
Yeah.
That doesn't look good. That doesn't look good in hindsight.
I would have picked the same. I mean, the biggest thing was
we made these picks before the weigh-ins.
Yeah, exactly. And somehow Stoliarenko looked better than when she used to fight at the weight above. So
right. I'm gonna need like the full in-depth interview with Stoliarenko talking about how she did that. It's fascinating, honestly. Daniel Wood, Andre Feely, yep, clean sweep. Paul Craig, Andre Muniz, Jake, the only person going with Paul Craig.
He's the only one.
After submitting these, I was a bit more confident in Paul Craig. I switched a bit, but
that's another one I think that is hurt by submitting them before the weigh-ins, because I thought Paul Craig, I did not know how he would look at middleweight, and he didn't look far off what he looked like at light heavyweight. So
with that new head of hair as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Jai Herbert for Ziam. All of us off base on this one.
Yeah, that's what I would have gone
Lerone, Murphy, and Kulabao. I know I went for Kulabao. I was off on this one. I'm slightly surprised.
3 of the 5.
I'm surprised about that.
Yeah.
I think Kulabao looked really good in his last fight, and Lerone didn't. I think that's probably part of it. Yeah, I knew that was one that could have gone either way, though. I think we talked about that coming in. Davey Grant, yeah. Well, we all should have had points there.
Yeah.
Danny Roberts, Johnny Parsons. I'm more confused about the two fellas picking decisions. How are you picking a decision in this fight?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a bit strange.
Yeah. Lucchese, Joel Alvarez. Jake and I coming pretty close.
I'm not surprised that 3 of you picked Joel Alvarez and the one person who picked Marcus Corley. I probably would have done the same thing.
I mean, I'm not surprised that Corley is on his own on some of these.
Yeah.
Although
he didn't do too bad.
Yeah, you did all right. You've got the results right there. Here we go. 4 points for myself and Joey on this one. Yeah.
So
Ahmed Muradov and Brian Barberena. I was pretty confident in Muradov. And Vieira Panikanzad, easiest pick of the night.
Corley
again.
The Europeans. Yeah, again. He loves it.
Yeah. Chris Duncan, Ash Moose. Like we talked, good performance from Chris Duncan. Corley's on his own, but he's getting it this time. He got him 3 points.
I feel like my predictions would have been fairly similar to Corley's, because I'm just gonna pick every UK guy.
Yeah. Okay.
But I didn't. Admittedly, I think that the most common pick, even if we had like 20 people on the team, probably would have been Ash Moose. Like even as we're all big Chris Duncan fans, but I didn't expect to see that level. Yeah. Especially like it's such a jump up from the last time we saw him as well.
Yeah. I think we're swayed by Ash Moose's fight with Sam Patterson. Yeah. I personally rated Sam Patterson higher than I did Chris Duncan. Chris Duncan gets hit a lot in his previous fights. He obviously had that big comeback in the Contender Series. I felt if Ash Moose caught him with that, he wouldn't have been able to come back.
He just didn't get caught. Like
incredible performance, best he's ever looked.
For sure. I'm expecting Shauna Bannon across the board. Yeah.
Yep. I think Shauna closed as a slight underdog, though.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's good fighters in that weight class. I think Bruna Brazil lost to Denise Gomes, I think, in her last fight. So it's high level. And here, Felfilo. Yep, there you go. There you have it.
Brilliant. So
Jake going a bit more conservative, but 4 points for Corley, myself, and Joey.
despite the fact that he missed out on a point there, Jake did top the leaderboard for UFC London with 22 points. Joey coming in second, and joint third, you and Corley on 17. Brandon did do picks as well, but only for the main card. So, obviously not going to have anywhere near the points tally of you guys that did all 15 fights. So very, very close, only 3 points in it between Joey and Jake, and then only 2 points behind him, you and Corley. So not far off it.
Do you have full year standings or not?
I do not. I only have the UFC 290 numbers, which, according to Jake, is out of 39, and he topped it with 14. So, not a good run in for us. the UFC 290 predictions. That is really
I don't know
bad.
why people listen to us.
Wow, that is quite something.
Yeah.
But yeah, there you go.
Decent weekend, all in all. Think the Cage Warriors card was the highlight, and then certain things on the UFC card made it stand out. But as we talked about, there's a message from one of the potential guests, by the way.
Perfect.
Yeah. That's what I was because I was about to lead into plugging that for the weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Decent weekend. Cage Warriors the highlight. UFC. The good stuff was really good. Paul Craig, Nathaniel Woods fight. Even the first round finish in the Molly McCann fight, and then obviously Tom Aspinall. But some of the prelims did leave a bit to be desired. So, and the crowd wasn't the level as it has been in the past. I think that's fair to say. So,
yeah, I was actually surprised by that. I thought, anytime I've spoken about the card with anyone, the lasting kind of point at the end was at least the crowd will be great. Yeah. So I think maybe just some of the matchmaking and some of the fights not totally delivering kind of just didn't.
Plus, obviously it's been talked about a million times. Obviously, people weren't happy with the ticket prices. Couple thousand people less in there than there has been the last few cards. About 2 million less on the gate. So.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well,
and obviously in the press conference at the end, Dave Shaw talked about one of the cards next year being away from London. I think that's the right move at this point.
Yeah, for sure. You have the fan base in the UK and the talent to do it. So
I mean, how have you Aspinall's headline 3 cards? How has one of them not been in Manchester yet?
I don't know, but yeah, hopefully.
Obviously, there's the Co-op Arena opening in Manchester. This is a real tangent here. The Co-op Arena opening in Manchester. There's Abu Dhabi links to that arena, of course. So I could see that bit. That's going to be open for next summer. So I could see that maybe being the destination of that card. Brand new arena right next to the Etihad Stadium.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I could see that being a definite option. And who knows? Maybe have Aspinall gone by then. Who knows?
Yeah, depending on what order they do them in, I suppose. Yeah, we shall see. But exciting times. And for us, it doesn't stop because we have got the live stream coming up this Saturday, talking about Cage Warriors Rome, talking to some guests, and talking about UFC 291 coming up this Saturday, which because the UK cards always feel like such a big deal for us, where it's like, oh, there's so many talking points. It feels weird to have another pay-per-view so soon, but there it is.
Yeah. Obviously 2 pay-per-views this month as well, but it's a busy weekend. Cage Warriors Rome, like you said, 291. Also Bellator and Ryzen this weekend.
Yeah.
And obviously
Spence
Crawford, man. It's a busy weekend.
Sure.
Not sure how I'm going to try and catch everything, but that's the plan. I think the plan is to be live through the Cage Warriors main event or the main card, and then a little bit going into the UFC as well. Not 100% sure on timings at this point.
No, we will definitely be live throughout the UFC, throughout the Cage Warriors main card, and then just depending on.
I'm just wondering if there's going to be an overlap. That's all.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Depends on how many prelims UFC have, which I am not 100% sure of.
Yeah, because in that case, if there is a lot of prelims, Cage Warriors might go slightly earlier to
Maybe.
avoid the overlap.
I mean, it's a fight pass overlap as well, isn't it? So
yeah,
obviously, you know, it's in Italy, so the Cage Warriors might be shifted an hour as well for local time. Who knows?
very true. Yeah,
I haven't seen them promote any times yet, and obviously things can change with prelims falling off potentially, things like that.
Yeah, so we'll just wait and see what happens with that.
Take a look at the. It's great audio.
I'm excited for this. For the top of the Cage Warriors card, that flyweight title fight.
Yeah, I mean,
Yoni going for a second belt. Well,
there's a lot of
second belt, kind of.
Yeah, there's a lot of kind of Italian names that may not be familiar to fans in the UK, but it's Cage Warriors. Cage Warriors is always a fun time, and that main event should be really good.
Yeah, and the return of Mason Jones, which I'm very excited
about.
also.
Exactly. Very excited for that.
Right. Anything else?
I don't think so. Obviously, we're going to preview those cards on the stream.
Yeah.
Like you said, talking to some guests. But no, I think that's about it.
Yeah. As mentioned earlier on in the episode, if you haven't seen it already, go and watch the Oban Elliott segment back from the live stream because
I'm gonna get that uploaded as a video on its own. I'm gonna cut that. I'm gonna cut the Claire Lopez bit as well. Cool. Get them uploaded, or send them to Corley to get uploaded. Pulling back the curtain. Yeah, that's certainly the plan. So, but yeah, it's definitely worth a watch with Oban. That was an interesting time. It was a fun time.
Yeah, a good time indeed. That's it. There you go.
Yeah,
we're out.
Yeah, I just cut the recording now.
Cool.